This is the White House, and you might have noticed that there's something unusual on its roof. A person is walking there, quietly performing one of the most important duties. After the recent attack on members of the National Guard just a few blocks away from the White House, that person, along with hundreds of others you can't see, was immediately placed on the highest alert. Within minutes, roads were closed, traffic was redirected, and police and agents rushed in from all directions. But that visible action was just the beginning. The person you see on the roof is part of the Secret Service counter-sniper team, and he is possibly one of the most elite marksmen you've never heard of. They are not ordinary snipers, and just to get into this unit, a candidate has to hit a target from a distance of over 3,000 feet, which is about half a mile away, and this is not just tested once. Every month, they have to prove that they can still make that kind of shot while they're a member of the team. But this is what most people often don't understand about these snipers. Sometimes they haven't even fired at a threat inside the White House grounds. Firing their weapon is not their main job, but rather observing. From the roof, they can view all 18 hectares of the White House grounds, and their main value is giving real-time information to the teams below. They notice a crowd forming before it becomes an issue. They are the first to notice a person acting suspiciously, even before anyone else does. They serve as the eyes of the security operation, using their weapons only as a last resort. On a normal day, the counter-sniper team works in pairs, a spotter and a shooter, taking turns on shifts 24 hours a day. They use custom-built high-key 300 Winchester Magnum bolt-action rifles with Schmidt and Bender optics, equipment that is extremely precise and costs as much as several mortgage payments. The Secret Service also doesn't disclose how many snipers are actually positioned at any given time, but it's probably more than you think and less than would make you feel comfortable. And they're not the only ones up there. If you've ever visited the White House and seen guards in black uniforms patrolling the area, you've already seen members of They're like the White House's permanent security force. While the closed-in agents you see in movies directly protect the president, these officials handle everything else: the gates, the grounds, the checkpoints, and the entire perimeter. The Secret Service has around 1,300 uniformed officers, and even though they don't disclose how many are assigned to the White House at any given time, there are enough to guard every entrance and every exit, and every corner of the 18-acre area is guarded day and night. Each official undergoes 29 weeks of intensive training before being deployed, and after that, they are assigned to special units, from the counter-sniper team, K-9 Division, to the emergency response team. They are the visible presence that reminds you this is not just a historic mansion. This is a fortress with a gift shop, but the snipers and officials are just observers for now. They can't physically stop someone who has already run or attacked. And for that, barriers are needed. And the White House has been continuously upgrading these barriers for over 200 years. And the most obvious layer of protection is the fence. If you visited the White House before 2019, you might remember the old fence, which was only about 6.5 feet tall, made of steel, and actually seemed like an athletic person could climb it in just a few seconds. The new perimeter is 3 feet taller, even higher than an NBA basketball hoop. It stretches nearly 3,500 feet around the entire compound. It's made of thick steel bars embedded in a concrete foundation. It was designed to stop even cars speeding at high velocity, but its height is perhaps the most remarkable thing of all. Inside those steel bars, there's a hidden pressure sensor that the moment any force is applied, even before anyone climbs over, it immediately triggers an alert. You don't need to get past the backwood. Just a wrong touch and an alarm will sound in a command center within seconds. It also features what the Secret Service calls anti-limb technology. They don't exactly explain what it is, but according to security experts, it combines curves and angles on the upper part of the backwood that are impossible to grip, and integrated detection systems that can differentiate whether it's just a bird or a human hand touching the metal. The project cost around $64 million and took several years to complete. But no matter how tall and smart the backwood is, there's one thing it can't stop: A person suddenly running at full speed toward the White House the moment they set foot on the ground. This is where the Belgian Malinois comes in. The Secret Service has used guard dogs since 1975, and selecting this breed was intentional. Imagine a story. A dog that's smaller, faster, and more aggressive, capable of sprinting nearly 30 miles per hour. They can clear 6-foot fences without even slowing down. They have a 270-degree field of vision. And for centuries, they were specifically bred for one thing: to bite and never let go. Every dog goes through 20 weeks of training before being deployed. They learn to detect explosives, identify threats, and take down intruders with a speed and ferocity that makes humans look slow in comparison. The Secret Service doesn't reveal how many agents patrol the White House at a time, but there are enough of them to make sure anyone who gets past the fence will have a bad day. But there's still a problem. All of this is only for threats you can see coming. What about the ones you can't see? Around the entire perimeter of the White House, there are infrared sensors installed. These systems can detect heat signatures, which means they can recognize the shape and movement of a person, even in complete darkness. Even if you wait until 3 in the morning, wear black from head to toe, and approach what you think is a blind spot, the sensor will detect you before you get close to the fence. The Secret Service never officially confirms the exact existence of these sensors, especially their locations. And that's intentional because if you know where the detection systems are, you might try to plan a route to avoid them. By not admitting what technology is actually being used, the Secret Service maintains an advantage over anyone trying to study the weaknesses of the compound. There are even rumors that the sensors are so sensitive that sometimes they're triggered just by squirrels or birds. That's why a big part of the security team's job is to distinguish whether it's a real threat or just an animal that got too close. And inside the White House itself, the invisible security doesn't end there. Some reports say that there are pressure-sensitive pads embedded under the floor in certain parts of the White House, allowing agents to monitor movement inside the building, even without a direct line of sight. According to some reports, these pads can even detect different weights and walking patterns to identify who is walking. The Oval Office itself is said to have sensors that are always monitoring movement. Information is sent to the Secret Service about the exact location of the president, even during private meetings. On the roof, besides the snipers, a radar system constantly monitors the area. Because it's not just people walking around who are potential threats, the airspace above the White House is one of the most strictly guarded airspaces in the world. The airspace above the White House is called P-56. The P stands for prohibited, and it has been a no-fly zone for more than 50 years. But the true extent of the restriction is much wider than just the White House lawn. The Washington District of Columbia Special Flight Rules area extends 15 nautical miles in all directions from Reagan National Airport, which is only 4 miles away from the White House. Every aircraft that enters here without permission from the FAA is immediately recorded. If the pilot ignores the North American Aerospace Defense Command's warning, a fighter jet can reach the White House in just 5 minutes. If the threat is considered imminent and the pilot does not change course, the jet is authorized to shoot down the aircraft. And this is not just an empty threat. In May 2005, a student pilot in a Malita Cesta accidentally entered restricted airspace. As a result, the White House, Capitol, and Supreme Court were evacuated. An F-16 intercepted the plane and forced it to land at the nearest airport. He didn't mean any harm. He was just lost. But the incident showed the security apparatus can't tell an accident from an attack until the threat is neutralized. For smaller aerial threats like commercial drones, the Secret Service deploys specialized counter-drone technology, detecting the unmanned aerial vehicle, tracking it, and sometimes controlling or disabling the drone. In several classified locations around Washington, District of Columbia, there are surface-to-air missile batteries on standby, short to medium-range systems that can neutralize aerial threats before they even reach the White House. Now, hypothetically, if someone managed to get past all of that and is standing right at the building itself, the White House, which was built back in the 1790s, still has its own vulnerabilities. But every window on the exterior, all 147 windows, has ballistic glass that can stop high-caliber bullets. On November 11, a man parked on Constitution Avenue took out a semi-automatic rifle and shot at the White House. Many bullets reportedly hit the building, but not a single one got through the windows. What's troubling is that the Secret Service didn't realize the building had been targeted for 4 days. They thought the gunshots weren't related to the White House until a housekeeper noticed the broken glass on the Truman balcony. Only then did they investigate and find bullets in the window frame, including one that broke the outer pane of the window in the first family's living quarters. The window held up, but the quick turn of events revealed security gaps that have since been addressed. The building itself also has an air filtration system designed to protect against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear contaminants. If a toxic substance is released into the air, whether from an industrial accident or a deliberate attack, the White House can seal itself and continue to circulate clean air inside. The system stays under positive pressure. This means that air flows out through any gaps instead of contaminated air coming in. But the White House doesn't just control the air that comes in. To actually get inside, you have to go through several layers of screening that make airport security look less strict in comparison. Every visitor, whether for a tour, a state dinner, or a policy meeting, goes through a magnetometer, an X-ray machine, and a credential verification system. Names are checked against databases and bags are inspected. And for high-level events, you need to submit your social security number and date of birth several weeks before the event, so the Secret Service can conduct a background check before the visitor even enters the grounds. The staff undergoes strict and detailed scrutiny. All employees with regular White House access undergo thorough vetting, including checks on finances, identity, associations, and travel history. It can take months to get clearance, and even after that, everyone from senior advisors to maintenance workers goes through a security checkpoint every day. There are no exceptions, no shortcuts. Even if thousands of people are processed on a busy day, everyone receives the same high level of security. And yet it's not foolproof, because in 2014 it was proven that even the most advanced security systems in the world can be breached. On September 19, 2014, Omar Gonzalez jumped the White House's north fence with a folding knife. What happened next showed just how vulnerable the most famous resident in America is. He didn't just get past the fence, he ran 70 yards across the north lawn. Secret Service officers shouted at him to stop, but he didn't. The attack dogs meant to stop intruders were not released. Gonzalez reached the north portico doors, found them unlocked despite expectations, turned the handle, and entered. Now inside the White House, he walked past the Secret Service officer at the entrance. He entered the hall and passed the stairs to the first family's private residence. He reached the East Room, one of the building's largest and most famous rooms, before a counter-assault agent tackled him. President Obama and his daughters had already left through the South Lawn just minutes before Gonzalez jumped the fence. At first, the Secret Service said that Gonzalez was stopped at the front door, a lie that was exposed in just a few days when a whistleblower came forward and spoke out. It turns out that the alarm system near the entrance, which was designed to alert the officers inside, was silenced because the staff complained that it was too loud. The dogs were stopped and the doors were left open. As a result, the Secret Service director was summoned, and Congress held a hearing for an explanation. The entire White House security system was dismantled and rebuilt. The 13-foot backwood fence we mentioned earlier is a direct result of that incident. One person provided the enhanced protocols, upgraded sensors, and extra personnel. One person showed that security layers are useless if those managing them make mistakes, leading to the final layer of the White House, a layer independent of backwoods, dogs, or alert officers, made for situations when all other security has failed. Under the east wing of the White House, accessible only through a secret elevator hidden behind bolt-type doors with biometric security, is the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or Presidential Emergency Operations Center, also known as PAYO. Here you will reach the highest level of protection. The original White House bunker was constructed during World War II following Pearl Harbor. Roosevelt wanted a secure location in case of an aerial bombardment, so they quietly dug under the East Wing and built a reinforced shelter. It was even said that Roosevelt inspected it once and never went back again. But the bunker remained, and over the decades it evolved. Under Truman, the White House interior was demolished and rebuilt with a steel frame, and the bunker was upgraded. During the Second Cold War, as nuclear annihilation became more likely, the facility was further reinforced. Today, the PAYO is designed to withstand a direct nuclear strike according to most estimates. The exact specifications are classified, but considering the strongest United States nuclear warhead that can explode up to 1,000 feet deep, it is assumed that this facility can withstand even that. First Lady Laura Bush shared her experience in 2001. She was led inside and down the passageway. A strong, airtight seal was in place outside. She was put in the formal area. Leader to Jenner. China has organized a government response. The advice is, and that's it has its own air supply, food stores, and possibly sleeping quarters. It can serve as a complete command center while the world collapses above it. However, advice might not be the deepest layer. Many reports claim there's a second facility under the White House called the Deep Underground Command Center. Deep Underground Command Center, also pronounced as DAC. While the advice serves as an emergency shelter and meeting space, the DAC is said to be a hardware bunker made of reinforced concrete thick enough to withstand nuclear irradiation. Not much is known about this. This is not officially recognized by the government, but according to some sources, it serves as a command center and temporary living quarters, complete with its own oxygen supply, food storage, and communication equipment. If the PAYO is the place to go during a crisis, the DAC is where you go when the crisis comes with a mushroom cloud. And the secret architecture is not limited to the White House. There is a 761-foot passage connected to the East Wing leading to the basement of the nearby Treasury Building, which was originally built as an elderly shelter during Roosevelt's time. Several other tunnels under the White House are unknown. In 2010, a major construction project began on the grounds, estimated to cost nearly $376 million, surrounded by high fences to hide the work from the public. And no official explanation was given. When the fence was taken down, nothing changed above ground, so whatever was hidden must be underground. Pa!